Hello, in this video I'm going to talk to you about the difference between fixed clamps and flying clamps and which is better and which is worse. And the answer is they're both the same. They're both just as good or just as bad depending on how you look at it. Each one works very well in their own right. They work a little bit different and I'm going to explain how. Okay, first of all, we start with the fixed clamps. Now, I'm pulling a string and I'm going to clamp the string. And, of course, you're supposed to clamp as close to the frame as possible. But for the purpose of this demonstration, I'm going to clamp it over here so it's easier to see. So I'm going to clamp. And you notice when I release the tension, the clamp will move back a little bit, have a little bit of drawback, lose a little bit of tension, as you can see here. Okay, I'll do it one more time. It's going to move a little bit, lose a little bit of tension, which is not good. But every single fixed clamp does this. But the thing you should remember is that it's not a big deal, because the next time, or the next string that you pull, the clamp will return. So here we go. I pull the next string, and you can see the clamp. It moves back to its original position. Here, we'll do it again. I release tension, and I pull slowly. You can watch the clamp move. And it returns back to its original tension position. So any tension loss is pretty much mostly or fully recovered by pulling the next string. So in the end, the little bit of drawback and tension loss that you get from the fixed clamps is no big deal, because the second string you pull will always, return the amount of loss that you had. So you never really lose anything until the very last string, of course, when you do the tie off. In that case, you just set the tension super high and to compensate. Okay, so that's how a fixed clamp works. Okay, so next I'm going to talk to you about the flying clamps. Now, Stringway has two flying clamps, two different types of flying clamps. Again, you can see on the right side is a triple flying clamp, and on the left side is a double flying clamp. And they're both good, but work a little bit different. So I'm going to show you how they both work. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to start with the double clamp. And I'm going to clamp here. And I'm going to release tension. Now look, watch how the clamp moves. As you can see, it rotates just a little bit when I release tension. Now, because of this rotation, the outer string loses a little bit of tension. However, the inner string gets pulled tighter by the same amount of tension that is lost in the outer string. So actually, there really is no tension loss in the system. It's more like a tension shift, where the tension from the outside shifts a little bit to the inside. Okay, so it's a little bit different than a fixed clamp. Maybe in some ways you can say that flying clamps lose less tension than a fixed clamp. Okay, so let's try the triple clamp. Here we go. We clamp 3 strings at the same time. And I release tension. So when I release tension, you can see that the triple clamp is a little bit more stable than the double clamp, because it's clamping 3 strings, a little bit less rotation, and a little bit less tension shift. So the outer string is not nearly as loose as the outer string of the double clamp. And the inner strings, the tension does not rise as much as the inner string as the double clamp. So a lot of people will tell me, hey, that's no good. I mean, why would you want a string like that? Shouldn't I have the same clamp on both sides? And I would say, yeah, if you really feel that way, it probably is better to have two triple clamps. So you can use one on the left and one on the left, one on the right when you do the mains. And then for the crosses, you can use the double clamp on the cross strings or as a starting clamp, because the double clamp works a lot better as a starting clamp and on the crosses than the triple clamp. So you kind of need both clamps. However, if you don't have the budget, you don't want to buy all these clamps, you only want to buy two clamps, then it's always best to get one triple and one double instead of, say, two doubles or two triples. And the reason for this is that, yes, I know on the mains, you know, having like a double and a triple, the balance is a little bit off. However, again, just like the fixed clamp, when you pull the next string, both clamps pretty much return back to normal. So I'm going to pull this string, and if you watch the triple clamp, it straightens out just how it's supposed to be. So all the tension has shifted back evenly to the outside of the string, and now it's in perfect balance. So I'm going to clamp this string with the fixed clamp so to maintain tension while I pull the double clamp. And here we go. We pull the double clamp and take a look. As I pull, the clamp returns back to normal. So for both clamps, when you pull the next string, they both return back to normal. They're both straight, no tension shift. They're clamping the strings just as good. It's pretty much the same on both sides after you pull the next string. So that's why if you're going to buy two clamps, it's always best to get one of each, because it's really no big problem on doing the mains.